Piper here is taking a little bit of a snooze, and we just kind of got done talking about the importance of rules and structure. And I really think that her big problem is I think she's stressed, yes, you, because she didn't have a lot of rules and structure, and she was able to tell her humans what to do. She comes and nudges with her nose, and she invades personal space. And it's not hard to see why she does this. Every time she does it to any of the humans in her house, they pet her. If she just comes near a human, they reach over and pet her. Now, I consider petting a dog our way of paying a dog. Now, if you have a job where you get paid whether you go to work or not, and there's no repercussions, you're probably not going to go to work if it's a nice day. You'd rather play golf or go swimming or do something like that. So right now, she basically tells the humans when to pay her. And in some cases, I see dogs that get paid or petted so much that it's no longer a privilege or no longer something special. It's like something they just take for granted. So next time she nudges us, when she nudges us, she's telling us what to do. And if we pet her, that reinforces her belief that she's in charge of us. And that adds to pressure, feeling that she's responsible for us. And that leads to stress. And so we want her to adopt more of a follower's mindset. And the first way I adjust this is by kind of going over rules and structure, which we just got done doing. But for petting her, because petting is a way of compensating her, if she nudges me and I pet her, I'm telling her, I'm agreeing with her that yes, you're in charge of me. So next time she nudges you or scratches you, tell her to sit. Give her a counter order. And then as soon as she sits, pet her under her chin and say the word sit. Just the word sit. See, a lot of people say they're a good dog or good girl or, oh, what a good dog, Piper, you sat down. I didn't even have to ask you to do it. So the more words we use for the dog, the harder it is for them to understand. Most Americans say between 3,000 and 11,000 words a day. Dogs are not verbal creatures. On average, dogs have 10 commands, and on average, most humans assign 7 command words for each command action. So now if I have to remember 70 different words versus 10 different words, as a dog, that makes it much more difficult. An example, this would come here, over here girl, dog's name, dog's nickname, tap my thigh, and something else. So now the dog's got to learn all these different words and listen for them all day long, and that's much more difficult. I talk a lot about putting a dog in a position to succeed. So I like to use just the command word. So when I tell her, she nudges me, I tell her to sit, I'm going to, as soon as she sits, pet her under her chin and say the word sit. When a dog feels good about itself, its nose is parallel to the ground or tilted upward. So petting a dog under the chin facilitates that nose-up orientation and can help them feel good about things that we like. I call these desired behaviors, like sitting. So I'm not going to say good sit or Piper sit, just the word sit. And no baby talk it either. Dogs hear pronunciation. So if you say sit and then the dog sits, you say sit. To a dog, those are completely different sounds. So just say it once. And what will happen is after a while, the dog kind of comes to the conclusion, when I tell the humans what to do now, they don't do it. But as soon as they tell me what to do and I do it, they hook me up. They pay me. They reward me. So I'm more inclined to do that because I like getting that reward. I like getting that special attention. And we're training the dog, this is a desirable way to do that. Now, after not only doing that, but sitting, like I talked about off camera, is a more subordinate position for dogs. And it's almost as a way of saying please or thank you. Now, what we're doing in this equation is we're kind of developing a sense of a type of currency. So if you want something from me, I'm going to tell you what to do, and you're going to have to pay for that attention by sitting. The currency is basically obedience. What's going to happen eventually, after enough repetition, the dog nudges us and nothing happens, we tell it to sit, it sits, we pet it and say sit. After a while, the dog's going to come and sit in front of you and say, look, I'm prepaying for some attention by sitting down. Can you hook me up and scratch me behind this ear? So whenever the dog does that, we want to pet them as much as we can. Otherwise, they will go back to the other way, which is scratching or nudging us, which confuses the dog into thinking it has more authority, contributes to its stress, and also is an annoying habit for people. Now, I had a woman in Santa Monica who was petting her dog, and I explained this to her, and she goes, well, what if I just want to pet my dog myself? The dog didn't nudge me. I just want to pet the dog. I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to ask you to stop petting your dog real quick while I explain this to you. And she goes, okay. So if you want to pet the dog, I still want you to ask the dog to do something first before you pet her. You're petting your dog again. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, that's all right. So you're gonna, even if you just want to pet your dog, you're just gonna still tell the dog to sit, and then you're gonna reach over and say, like, you're petting your dog again. She's like, 3 times in the course of 15 seconds, me explicitly saying, don't pet your dog, she involuntarily reached over to pet her dog. So you won't realize how often you've done it. So I usually use the word paycheck. So if the husband comes in the home and sees that the wife is petting the dog and the dog is standing up, we would say the word paycheck, and the wife would stop petting. Say, Piper, sit. As soon as Piper sits, she would pet her on her chin and say, sit. Then we could tell to our spouse, actually, I asked her to sit. She stood up when she heard you come through the door, and I continued petting, and David said that is allowed, which it is. So paycheck is just a way of helping each other to make sure that we're doing it. If we start arguing about it, the dog says, oh, they're on their own page, I can be on my own page too. No, we want the dog to feel like it's an outsider, so it wants to be part of our group. Now, like I started talking about that transition, if you want to pet the dog, still ask the dog to sit. If it's already sitting here, ask it to come and sit over here. If it's sitting, ask it to come and lay down. It just has to do something to change its state or prepay in order for you to pet it. Now, this is usually where I would wrap up this video, but I'm going to combine two different videos into one. There's another way of training a dog. Now, when we train a dog, we actually do something where we try to lure them into the final end result, and then we reward them each step along the way. So if I want to teach a dog to roll over, the first thing I'm going to reward is the dog to shrug its shoulder forward like this, because that's going to allow it to bend, to lean itself over and lay on its side, which is one of the steps it's going to need to go through in order to successfully roll over. So that's the way we train dogs, and that's a very appropriate method of training dogs. For passive training, what I do is simply reward the dog when it does the desired action without trying to entice it to get there. So this means I'm basically narrating what the dog does. So every time Piper comes to you, pet her and say, come. Every time she sits down on her own, pet her and say, sit. Every time she lays down, pet her and say, chill, or down in this case. Every time she does whatever the desired action is, pet her and say the command word within that 3-second window. Remember, you have 3 seconds to correct or reward your dog for them to make the connection. So now, after a while, the dog's like, man, they love it when I sit. So the more we ask her to sit, the easier it gets for her to do so. Dogs don't generalize things very well. They usually have to do something in 40 to 80 different versions or locations before they can start to compartmentalize and generalize that. So if we pet with a purpose, we're doing that in the living room, in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in the hallway, in the backyard. We're doing it everywhere. Same thing with passive training. Every time the dog comes to us, we're petting it and say, come. I taught my dog to stretch this way. Every time he stretch, I would pet him under his chin and say stretch. Now I can say stretch. He sticks his butt in the air, waggles his tail, stands up, and goes, "Woo!" And he'll do it 10 times in a row because I just simply rewarded him for doing it after the fact. Now, passive training is slower than traditional training. So these are two things the humans really need to get in the habit of doing. And this is with our neural pathways aligning. So it'll take us about a month to get in the habit of doing so. But if you can get in a habit of petting your dog with a purpose, whether it asks for it, or you're telling it to do it, and passive training, and for passive training, you might want to come up with a watchword like, reward, and then you look down and the dog's sitting, you immediately pet it and say sit, because we take it for granted the dog comes and sits and does these things. But if we get in a habit of rewarding the dog for the desired actions and behaviors through passive training, and ask the dog to do something to earn our attention or affection, every time you pet your dog for the rest of your dog's life, you're doing a micro-obedience training session and you're not even thinking about it. It's truly a gift. So get in a habit of really emphasizing paycheck for the next 4 weeks. Same thing with petting with a purpose, passive training. Just reward or attention or whatever the word is that helps us remember and recognize that we're doing that. All right, that's not a quick version, but that is how I like to summarize petting with a purpose and passive training.